for the Facilities and Finance again show that all board members are present except for Ms. Belinda Rose. Go ahead, sir.
Good morning. Dr. Serrata, board members, Chair Henry. Sorry? No, I'm okay. Can you all hear me okay?
Is it being recorded?
Okay, good. There's some extra copies here if anybody needs a handout. Hopefully those should be able to write you down. So I'll go ahead and get started. We'll start with Mission El Paso, and that's evolving very well. You can actually start seeing the maximum for the building. So you know, we do have a new session completion now for Mission El Paso, January 10th. The contractor actually asked for 63 days. We ended up settling for 30 days. And this was due to a number of miscellaneous change orders. This is fairly typical in our projects. We're still, as you can tell, in the schedule, we're still fine, and we should be. So that was pretty good that we were able to get them down to 33 days. As far as the site work, sanitary sewer line on the by the campaign campus road to the building pad now is 95% complete, and then the installation of the water line is 97% complete, and data line from the main campus road to building C, they're basically connecting all the way. It's coming all the way down here to building C. It's 25% complete. The structural steel is about 30% done for the first and second floor. The CMU east and west 9% complete, as you can tell. There's quite a bit of CMU already. And the building plat slab itself for the first floor is 90% complete. As far as the mechanical work, they actually started duct work. We're 15% complete with the duct work. Plumbing work is 90% complete for the rough-in and the west and east area of the buildings. And the electrical work, the electrical data NAV for the building area is about 90% complete.
When was the picture taken?
This picture was taken a week. Okay, this one was taken a week and a half ago. The ones you'll see next, these here were taken just this past week. So as far as they're still struggling, catching up on the buildings, but they are getting a little bit better. As you can tell, we still have a considerable gap here.
What is the hold?
Well, it has to do mostly with the buildings. I mean, they're moving fine. They are about 30 days, like I think they got 30 days extension. But it's just, they can't bill for more that they've already in place. So they got a lot of things ordered, but they're not, and until they get it, they can't bill for it. So, and it does show a little bit of the delay, that they are the 30-day delay. But we should be fine. Yes, sir?
The delay, though, there's a difference between actual physical construction delay and building.
Yes, sir.
So, what did the actual projected, I mean, where are we with respect to projected completion date?
If we let me go back here. If we take into account the 30 days we granted them, we're on schedule.
Okay.
We're on schedule. If we take into account the 30 days. In other words, for this day, for the January 10th date, right now, if you look at their schedule, they don't even need a recovery schedule.
But that was because we had the change in plans, original plans, the 30-day extension was due to that.
It was, no, actually it was more, okay, I tell about half of that was for the LVT. Remember there was an alternate when we bid, and actually it came down $13,000 cheaper, but because we're going to LVT, there's a lot more waste, it's a lot more time consuming. So and we've been going back and forth with them. Actually, when they first told us the amount of days they needed, we absolutely said no, but we've gone back and forth. They do have a good point because of the waste and it's gonna take them longer,
So
so.
it was an additional decision beyond the original?
Yes, sir, yes, sir. And there was some other issues also with the steel detailing, they took a little, in the field, they had to make some changes. So all this is just a compound of all those little changes,
Sure.
and now we're whole. Actually, as a matter of fact, I'm trying on Rio Grande, say, finally got a decision on Rio Grande, and we're now whole on this one in Rio Grande as well. So, going on to Northwest, as you can tell, great progress there. They, based on their last schedule, that we are actually analyzing it now. We have some questions to them. Their schedule shows they're on time. We have some questions for them still. Hopefully, we still be able to keep this move-in date for the fall meeting master. But again, we want to really dig deep into their revised schedule. What happened was, the reason it takes a little longer is they resequence. This is basically 3 parts. There's one, the middle, and that other area. And what they did, in order to catch up where they got behind in some areas, they resequenced a little bit of the process. And that's going to mean that it takes us a little more time to analyze to see what the impact was. But hopefully by next month, I'll have something a little more concrete, because we're really getting close to that day, where you can tell we're 81% complete. So the sidewalks, and as far as the site work, there's, as you can tell, there's quite a bit going on. They already got the sidewalk, they got all the retaining wall. This is where the stairs will go up. As far as structural work, they are about 98% percent of the structural steel and the steel decking, which is the roof. And they, as you can tell here, roofing activities already begun. And the east area, which is that area over there, is 50% complete. The center area here is 25% as far as the steel decking. As far as mechanical work, they're already working, they're blowing and going. They're not 100% in the drive, but they're taking a little bit of risk by starting some of these activities, but they're really working very hard, and they're properly handling as far as the manpower for the projects. The plumbing work, the East Area rough-in is 100% done and inspected, which is important. Roof drains and restrooms at the center area are ongoing, and the hydraulic systems piping is begun. For the electrical work, also the inspection has passed for the rough-in for the electrical work, and the center area is ongoing. They did have a shed down to connect the transformers, the permanent connection to the building. That was done on 6/22, and that's been achieved, and we passed that. So that's all good news. It's going quite well. As far as the budget, we had to do a few changes to it, but I'll go into that when we get to the budget portion of the presentation. So here, they are also pulling back a little bit on the building, and we are keeping an eye on that. Same thing, as you can tell here, it's starting to go a little bit that way, but right now, obviously, the main concern is what they expect to achieve in the field. Rio Grande, this is moving really well. I think once they got the hang of it, they're really starting to make some progress. I have some news as far as we finally got a resolution on the time extension. It's bittersweet. They did ask just for the El Paso electrical portion. If you recall, there was the big holdout back in September. They wanted 96 days. After we got ourselves off the floor, we talked to them about that because we thought that was just ridiculous. So we actually got a meeting with them. We sat down and we worked over really what the delays were because of them, which we're not responsible for, and which delays were El Paso Electric related or the architect, caused them. So when we all said and done, and this will make us whole as of today, we agreed on a 60-day extension. That will put us, we move in and actually late September, September 25th, I believe, 25th or 26th. I'll tell you when we get to the schedule portion of all the projects. But so right now we're saying tentatively that we can move in for the fall in the master, but I want to caution everybody at this point because we actually got over a year to go, and we got two monsoon season still to go. So for now, this is all I can tell in terms of based on the information I have available now, but I would caution everybody to take it to the bank, for lack of a better term, that we're gonna be opening for the fall winter semester of 2020. As far as the progress, like I told you, it's going great. On the site work, this is the south lobby. It's this area back here. There you can see the clean house and where that garden is going to be, and the main entrance. That's pretty much done with the backfill. Now it's just towards the end. Of course, they'll be finishing out and putting all the levels there. As far as structural work, the second floor south and east, the elevators and the stairs, obviously this is the south, the elevator and the stairs, which is this area here, are complete. And the third floor north, the shear walls and the columns are in progress. Actually, one thing I was going to point out here, this is actually the third floor starting to go up. This is the third floor being, and so as you can tell, we're getting pretty much ready for the third floor. The mechanical work has not started. On the plumbing work, as the parking decks move up, the storm deck drain and sanitary sewer lines go along with it. So it just goes as high as at each level. And the good news too is that there was, because of the streetcar lines here, the El Paso Electric Utility, El Paso Water Utilities, they had to get a special insurance. Was an extra $18,000 something like that. 21, yeah, something like that, to be able to get the tap under the lines to connect to our building. So that delayed a little bit. It didn't affect the progress of the building, but that was delaying the tap in. They finally got the permission. They got the insurance. They finally got that permission from the streetcars, and so they're ready to connect, to start the connection work. As far as the architectural work, obviously we haven't started, and the budget is still the same, it hasn't changed. These are actually going quite well in terms of building versus progress, and the same thing you can tell here on the S-curve there, and this looks pretty good. Valle Verde, these are still going. We're keeping a close eye on them. We've had some issues, we have to deal with it, but right now, they're making great progress. As you can tell, you really can tell how the building is going to fit within the context of the campus. We basically, there's a number of change orders still that we have to address, so they're still in work. Auto visual selection, we're almost there. I should be able, next board meeting, I should be able to bring you as an action item to approve a fee package for the Valle Verde. And this will be going through the contractor as well. Installation, the shadow boxes are these. Let me see, that's not a good picture. Right here, you get that. These are what we're calling the shadow boxes. Those, we got 100% complete. We still have to work on some detailing on that because of there's a concern about pigeons roosting in those areas, so we're still working on a solution for that. The duct work, it's at first and second floor. This is a mechanical work. It's 95% complete, and the third floor is 50% complete. The electrical work, all the roof in is almost done for the first and second floor, and it's 60% complete for the third floor. In architectural work, it's in progress with the sheetrock, which is the drywall at first floor. It's ongoing. The progress is doing very nicely along that. He's doing a great job. Not only the building, but trying to keep track of the progress. And they've been working Saturdays for over a year now. So they're really trying their hardest to get there. I'm happy as I can be. Their substantial completion, yesterday final. We actually be able to have classes there July 8th. So, it was cut and go. It was close. As a matter of fact, and I'll show you just in a minute the wine that came up, but we're so excited. It looks awesome. I took these pictures last Tuesday, so a lot of it has happened since then. But as you can tell, furniture going in. This was the one that really gave us a hard time, just as a little anecdote. It's things that sometimes you can't foresee until the last minute. So this is the collision area, and this is the paint booth, and behind it there's a paint mixing booth behind it. Well, when the fire marshal came in and said, no, you all have to have a separate, not only the sprinkler system, which we did, we had a dry, we had to change it to wet system, but on top of it, you have to control it separate as far as monitor and alarm it. So everybody was sent scrambling to get this done, and we did.
And let me just
Yes,
give you a little bit more background. So when we have the design, all the design goes to the city for a plan check, and they give us the blessing to go ahead with construction. But almost invariably, at the end of the construction, when we come to do the finals, somebody has a different take on the ordinances or on the codes, and they ask us to make changes. So that's what's happening. A new person came in, or they changed their mind, and so now they're asking us to change some of the fire alarm systems, right?
Right, yes, sir, and the sprinkler system. And one thing that really helped to Oscar Venegas, which is the owner of the VMAC, which is a construction company, he actually got the fire marshal, the head fire marshal, to walk the site with him, and that really helped getting things back on track. So I'm happy to say we should be able to class this right. So that was, and it looks fantastic. Again, this is the collision area. This area here is the automotive area. All the bells and whistles are in. Diesel. This is a diesel area. You can see Dynamar. There's a bit here to drive, which the trucks will drive over. And so now all they have to do is basically finish cleaning it and publish everything, and we're good. And by the way, Marco was absolutely outstanding as far, because we were on a bit of a time crunch, and he's actually going to put all his resources to be. So thank you so much for getting the computers in a real limited amount of time. He just was great, so we should be in great shape. This is the restrooms and the hallways. As you can tell, fantastic floor, by the way. So I just thought I'd say that. And honestly, I was talking to our project manager in this project. I think it was a fantastic decision to go ahead and improve this because he just gives it so much character to the building. It looks so much nicer. So, as you can tell, parking lots, striped, everything's done. Landscaping is, talking to Jennifer here, she's a landscape architect. I'll introduce her in a minute. There's some things they're gonna have to still fix as far as landscaping, but looks good. So, here's, everything's complete. There's some punch list items, obviously, like all the other projects that they'll have to take care of, but you can tell it's all ready. I can't wait for y'all to see it. It's one thing is the pictures, another thing is actually walking through it. And Trans Mountain, and boy, that floor looks good. I actually, here's some, and now keep in mind, I was there Tuesday, we're done. They finished the floor, they left. But they were finishing the hallways here, so you can tell they're still, at the time, these were only on Tuesday, this is all they left, was this hallway here, and this area right here. And now they're absolutely done. It looks terrific, as you can tell. It really, even these boxes, we're having some real issues before, these 4 boxes, everything looks so nice and clean. I would be remiss if I didn't thank Mr. Lobato on this. He's been absolutely in touch with Mohawk, which is the floor, and almost on a daily basis working with him to get the product we wanted on a timely fashion, and he's been great as far as negotiating the amount, so thank you so much. I really appreciate that. We're excited. I know he was a little rough there for a little while, but now we'll be looking at the final product, and it's fantastic. So here's where we are, we're still doing some punch list work, but basically everything is complete. And come fall, everybody should be able to be moving in and ready to go. So a little bit of an update, so you'll know that if you recall, the very first bar meeting we had approved 66, and then I came ask for a little more because there's a little bit of extension there. Well, here's the final number. This is the 65,730. So we actually, what y'all approved in the very first meeting was 47,000. So we ended up at 46,523. So I'm glad to report that additional funds that I is really asking for because they weren't needed. A lot had to do this and a lot, and this is the final numbers. And this is basically the change order that shows the credit from that tax to pay us for the difference there. As far as safety, we broke the $300,000 hour mark, and here we go. We're still doing fantastic. We basically done with TTC and done with Trans Mountain, and this is probably as good safety. Knock on wood. I mean, we still got some things to do, but probably the best safety results I've seen in a long time in construction. So this is outstanding. So now going back to the schedule planner. So these are the new dates. The real main change, obviously, was mission, which we gave us back today. So now we're at 110 with the final completion 210. We're still, and as I made the point, Dr. Serrata, to tell the contractor what you said at the last meeting. They're absolutely on board. They do whatever it takes, and we feel good about getting that new master. As far as Rio Grande, we carry fall bid master. It's almost to a certain extent what I'm doing on Northwest. I'm carrying what I can justify to you. So I'm just cautioning, you never know what's going to happen, so that might be some other days later. So as far as overall month budget, we still get now we're carrying 4.9 million contingency, and we've used quite a bit of that for some things. And the main budget change to this whole budget was an additional $280,000 that we got from this bond interest to support the Northwest equipment. There was some additional equipment they needed, and so we had to pull $280,000 from bond interest to this. And wherever we're ready, we'll bring for your approval. What we're going to do, what we're trying to do in all the projects is pull that equipment and assign it to the contractor. So we do that obviously through a change order. So when we're ready for that change order, we'll be bringing it to you for your approval. Probably next month, I would expect. As far Dr. Graham, this particularly refers to you. I felt compelled to give you. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yes, sir.
Before that,
Yes, sir.
we're looking at 100. You said essentially 100% at Valle Verde Transportation Center.
Yes, sir.
And 100% Trans Mountain. So are we going to have ribbon cutting ceremonies for those?
Yes, sir.
And do we have those scheduled?
That's a great question, and we'll be having ribbon cuttings for both Trans Mountain and the VVTTC. We're trying to schedule them when we have more students and then when we can showcase all the equipment and all of that. So those will be coming up probably late August or early September.
Okay, so with the fall semester.
Yes.
Oh.
But we'll definitely be having them. We just want to schedule and strategize to maximize media coverage, so that's, we're going to coordinate the dates based on that.
Okay.
Thank you. So what I was wanting to do is just based on your comments, we really went back and reevaluated all the canvases and see if there's anything that we were faltering that we needed to improve. So basically, I'm now giving you a quick update on the actions we decided to take. And also, I invited Ms. Barr here. She's a landscape architect. She will be speaking just a little long about the tree calipers and the reasoning behind the selection of the tree calipers. But let me go ahead and the mission was actually a very easy one. Honestly, I hadn't realized this. So when we went out to bid for the Mission Del Paso project, we were really concerned about the budget. So we actually had gone back and reduced the calipers of all the trees by 1 inch. So now the mission, we're actually in very good shape contingency wise. So all we did was basically go backwards. Well, let's do what we're gonna do to begin with, what we had planned. So we increased everything by 1 inch, and we could take a change order. It shouldn't be incredible amount of money, and actually it goes with the original intent of the landscape architect. And as you can tell, this is such a fantastic space, you know, an exterior space that you really do want to provide the type of shade for the students. One thing that I'd like to let you know that we're seriously considering too is some additional outdoor furniture. Because of their area, there's a lot of shade there. We're really wanting to have a second look at it, see if we can purchase some additional furniture on the exterior to allow the students to just hang out spaces. Not only the sticky spaces inside, but also outside as well.
Would that be like a fixed in,
Yes, ma'am. Yeah. So we won't walk out.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes. Yes. Particularly in that area too, because it's so isolated. So at Northwest, I'll let Ms. Barr, Walsh, you could probably address a little bit, but Northwest, we feel we're fine. I mean, I think that it was a great job, and so we're not doing anything. There's some existing trees as well there too. I believe. So I'll let you go in more detail there, but we feel good about Northwest. Rio Grande, as you can tell, there's not a whole lot to do. This area here, between the greenhouse and the building, it's real well planted. There's plenty of trees. As a matter of fact, one of the things we asked the landscape architect, make sure doesn't gonna get too big because it's such a narrow space. But they came back and said, no, actually, it takes into consideration what a narrow space that is, but it is allowed to provide shade for the students. These here actually came out, and these actually, like I've got a term, they got relocated. The city was real concerned about doing this because we got the streetcar right there. And as the tree grows, what that means is the branches now, we're awful close to the building, start going to the lines of up. So what we did to comply with our request, and actually shows 5 here, but they were 8 trees. We actually we're going to replant these back in El Paso Street where there's no space, there's irrigation already there. So, and the city has approved that change, so we're in good shape from that standpoint. Yes, sir?
You mentioned irrigation. All these trees put in, do they need to have their own water supply in perpetuity, or do they, at some point, we are still responsible?
I would think that there's a sprinkler system there that's constantly.
Almost all our systems are on drip, but yes, initially, and the Spark could probably speak to that fairly nice, initially they need more water, but as they mature, we back it off.
Okay. But that's included in all of this stuff?
Yes, sir, absolutely. So now Via Classroom, this one is as good as it gets. They have a lot of 3-inch caliber trees, and that's really the most you want to do, because as you can tell, they got that very well covered. TTC, we actually got some existing trees already there. As you can tell, they're already planting a lot of the trees, and if Ms. Barr feels like she needs to add to this, she will. But we feel pretty good about GTC as well. Trans Mountain, we really felt like, let's add a 3. Actually, I see a 4th one, but there's not, that 4th one's not there. Did we put that one in? I can't remember.
I was thinking it was 3 too.
I thought it was 3. I'm sorry. I should have got prepared on this one. But I'm pretty sure it's. See?
It's not a skinny tree either.
Well, let me say 3 so I won't get in trouble.
You're already in trouble because you're showing 4.
Okay, we'll say 4. Make note of that, Jack. So, anyways, but we did realize that we needed something a little more substantial there, so we went in there and did that change.
Got a picture?
Sir?
You have a picture?
Not yet. This is a change order. So we have to issue this to the contractor. They still need to go by. It hasn't been planned yet.
Did you reassess the size of those?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And Ms. Barr is the landscape architect. Actually, Ms. Barr, go ahead and stand up because you're next. Let me introduce you. She's actually the landscape architect for 3 of the 6 projects. She has the landscape architect for Northwest, landscape architect for Trans Mountain, and Via Verde TTC. So I thought, who better than her? And I highly respect the landscape architect while we're at it. So who better than her to kind of tell us a little bit about the thought process and the purpose of not going over 3 inches on the caliper and all that. So, Mary Christmas.
And I should say, I think I was chosen to speak out of all of the landscape architects who are working in the projects because I had 3 of the projects. So we have Via Verde, Trans Mountain, the Via Verde Transportation Project, the Trans Mountain Project, and the Northwest Biology, which are very, very different projects for us. In the biology Northwest campus, we are really focusing on making it kind of an outdoor laboratory, an outdoor representation of the Chihuahuan Desert, and we work with the biology staff there to really make sure that we had a lot of species representation, different representation of different parts of the Chihuahuan Desert. So that's very different. On Trans Mountain, we want Trans Mountain to blend in. We want it all to become kind of part of the desert again. So speaking to the irrigation needs, all plants are going to need the irrigation initially when they go in. Trans Mountain of any of the projects is the one that may go to, if we had complete water shortage, Trans Mountain would do really well. So one of the things that we see in these projects is we specify a tree size, we specify a tree type. The contractor puts in, or the contractors are supposed to, for specification, come to us and say, and have us mark the trees in a nursery or approve the trees in a nursery. Often they don't. We see them on site. Maybe they have poor form. Maybe they don't meet a height requirement. Maybe they don't meet a caliper requirement. So we reject or confirm. And I think it was Trans Mountain was a particular project that came up, and y'all saw pictures and said, "Wow, why are we getting these thinly trees?" So one of the things that we are constantly contending with is I like native trees, especially for a project like that. But we very often, and looking at the other projects as well, we're planting a lot of desert willow, mesquite, palo verde, trees that grow very quickly with low water and are well adapted to our desert. Those, unfortunately, are trees that you can't find in large caliper. And in general, the more native the tree, the lower the caliper or size, or height size that you can find. So if we're looking at, say, oaks or Chinese pistache or other trees that we do use here, but are not native or are not grown regionally, we can find them in 3-inch, 4-inch, even larger calipers. But in this case, mesquites are very hard to find in anything larger than 2-inch, or that type of thing. The quality of the tree is also often in question. So I wanted to show this this image. This is not a community college project. This is the West Side Pool. But this was last year in March, and I think you were saying you had to pick yourself off the floor. When I first went to do this punch list, I was just so disappointed because these trees looked awful. And these are all mesquites planted in a line in the parking lot, and I was pretty upset because they were topped, they're spindly, they just don't look good, but they met all of the requirements. They met the 2-inch caliper, they met the 10-foot height. And then I went back in May, and this is the kind of growth you get out of native trees. All of these trees, this is almost the exact same image right here, and you see the trees have really filled out as far as canopy size, and then the height on some of those, the ones on the right hand side. Those were 2-inch, 10-foot, a year plus ago, and now they're 20-foot, 4-inch. So I just wanted to demonstrate that, that we do get quick growth. And unfortunately, when you're opening a building and you're doing on your PR and you're getting the pictures of the building, you are getting very often some of these little scrubby looking trees, little charming looking trees. But they will, especially the more native and the smaller caliper they are when they go in, the better, and the better they do, the more quickly they're able to develop. And then just one other thing is that, those are other trees. These were live oaks, and they were 3-inch when they went in on the left-hand side. I just wanted to demonstrate that live oaks are a slower growing tree, but they also wanted a larger caliper. So the general rule of thumb is that for every inch of caliper, the tree takes a year in the delay of getting used to a transplant. I didn't state that very well. Okay. So a 3-inch tree, if we put in, say, a 4-inch tree and a 2-inch tree, within a few years, they're going to look the same, or the 2-inch tree is already going to surpass it. So, and we kind of see that here. These trees look pretty much the same a year later, as opposed to this smaller caliper mesquites. And so, I just wanted to. Oh, I forgot I did that. Small caliper trees suffer from transplant better. Native trees are difficult to source in larger calipers. Large caliper taller trees are more likely to be sourced in regions outside of the desert Southwest. That's another problem we have. Like, the larger the tree, the further it has to come from. And so if it's from East Texas and it's used to, humid weather, and it comes here, it's like, oh wait, I don't want to survive here. So it suffers a lot of transplant problems. So, and then finally, I think the best solution is to plant smaller caliper or native trees, provide proper maintenance, and give the trees some time. And that's my little spiel. But do y'all have any questions about?
You said native trees are difficult to source in large. Why is that?
The native trees are difficult to source?
Yeah, number 2.
Oh, yeah, in larger calipers. So, like one of the largest growers regionally is Mountain States and Wholesale Nursery, and they're in Phoenix and Southern Arizona. And they can't keep them fast enough. People they don't want them in large calipers because you have a lot more mesquite dying when you transplant them at a 3-inch caliper or a 4-inch caliper. But they also they're off the shelf, just before they get to 2-inch very often. Those thornless honey mesquite, I just saw them on another plant specified at 3 inches. I don't know where they're going to get those, but I know they're going to try. And maybe there are so few of them that they can get them from specialty stuff. But it's just.
But they'll be strong and scrubs.
Yeah. So, and it's a smaller market, and it's just, supply and demand.
I think Ms. Pina is a good question. Going back to the picture, the smaller, right there, the bushes, that they don't.
See this one right here. I have seen by the freeway, and that type of landscape that they put into, instead of looking attractive, it looks like dead grass. It looks bulky, dirty, and that's one of the questions is like, what about when it comes to the smaller plants, the bushes? Are they going to be, I'm sure it's all year, green all year. Are they going to be just like the ones that look clean and, I don't know the name of that specific plant.
Yeah, I mean, when we're conceptualizing the plant palette, we're thinking about things that can take a palette that can take you all the way through the season. So things that bloom in spring, things that look good in summer, things that bloom in fall, and things that are evergreen to take you through.
Yeah, I think that's.
And on campuses, it's easier to do that because you have larger spaces. You can layer plants. You have larger beds. You can put the lower plants in the front and the higher plants in the back, and you can get a lot of variety. Freeways, that's a tough.
Okay, good.
Situation. But we do have, and I've seen it on the other projects as well, grasses, and I think maintenance is
rabbits.
accommodating, yeah, right. And Trans Mountain, we won't have to worry about anything, it's all being eaten. But, I mean, in general, that's what we try to do, is try to have something that looks good in each case. All right, thank you
Any
all.
other questions?
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, I appreciate it. So now we're on to the action items. The first one is the purchase of furniture for the here, the classroom lab building. This one actually is broken up into two action items because we have two different vendors. Knoll is the brand of the furniture, and Hayward is the other brand of furniture. And Shelby Distributions is the rep, and Contract Associates is the rep of Hayward. So they both add up to $1,573,506, which is under budget. But we obviously have two separate action items because we have to break them up. So the first one would be the Shell Distribution. Somebody wants to read.
Yeah, it doesn't have a date by when it will be completed, do we know how, for the timeline?
For the furniture, yes, right now, as of right now, the substantial completion for Valle Verde is October 22nd. So when we hit, and we move in for the spring semester. So once that substantial completion hits, then they can start moving the furniture. And that's basically what it takes. And I've talked to the rep here, he told me it would take about 2 weeks per floor, so we have 3 floors. But I told them, well, that if it starts getting close to Christmas, and then if we have any more time extension, start getting a little compressed, he said they can compress it if it gets to that. So they've been very accommodating.
I think just to make it clear,
Yes, ma'am.
can we read into the record which item that we're considering? If we're considering one or both?
Let me read item
Oh,
5.1, and
absolutely,
then
yeah.
we'll do 5.2 second.
You'll read that? Okay, yeah.
So, item 5.1, Mr. Pettis will request the Board of Trustees to formally approve to award a contract to Shelby Distributions, Inc., doing business as Express Office Products in an amount not to exceed $910,244, which includes a 10% contingency for the purchase and installation of furniture for the upcoming Valle Verde Classroom Lab building. The contingency will be added to the contract if needed and at the sole discretion of the college district.
Move to approve?
Second.
Any discussion? Call the members, sir.
Dr. Graham,
Yes.
Ms. Pena,
Yes.
Mr. Uxer,
Yes.
Ms. Nahara,
Yes.
Ms. Sanchez, Mr. Haggerty.
Aye.
Item 5.2, Mr. Pettis will request the Board of Trustees to formally approve to award a contract to Contract Associates, Inc. in an amount not to exceed $663,262, which includes a 10% contingency for the purchase and installation of furniture for the upcoming Valle Verde Classroom Lab building. The contingency will be added to the contract only if needed and at the sole discretion of the college district.
Move to approve? Second?
Any discussion? If then, Paul.
Dr. Graham,
Yes.
Ms. Pena, Mr. Uxer,
Yes.
Ms. Nahara,
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez,
Aye.
Mr. Haggerty.
Aye.
Do you have to say anything about the other one, or do you want me to go ahead and read it?
No, I'm going on to the next one, just very briefly. This would be for the Northwest, and right now, we're still on track for Northwest right now, the substantial completion is September 10th. And so we're assuming that's the correct date, so that's why we're starting the construction work.
Just want to say something, these are not change orders, this is the plan all along to have this purchase of furniture at this time through a cooperative, through the college, it's just, this is the time to bring it to your, not a change order.
Right. Actually, thank you. I think it's important to mention too that it was the college's intent to make sure to purchase local as much as possible and spread out as much as we could to the different vendors, and that is happening too as well. So for Northwest, this is the request. It's Contract Associates for Hayward.
Item 5.3, Mr. Pettis will request the Board of Trustees to formally approve to award a contract to Contract Associates, Inc. in an amount not to exceed $515,158, which includes a 10% contingency for the purchase and installation of furniture for the upcoming Northwest Classroom Lab building. The contingency will be added to the contract only if needed and at the sole discretion of the college district.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? Call the question, please.
Dr. Graham?
Yes.
Ms. Pena?
Yes.
Mr. Uxer? Ms. Nahara?
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez? Mr. Haggerty?
Aye.
Thank you. Now, but the Valley Fair Transportation Training Center, if you recall, back in November 2018, you approved $900,000 towards the purchase of equipment to Valley Fair TTC. At the time, we were very stringent of telling the staff and deans that this is all we could afford at the time. Well, now actually we got pretty good contingency still left over. So they wanted us to consider 3 more items that they really could use. And these are the 3 items. It's for the collision lab, it's a compressor, the diesel lab is a compressor, just a little better one, more capacity. And then, this is actually an existing picture. We took a picture of the tool crib. This is all the shelving there. We had to reduce the number of shelves to fall within the budget. So they said, well, now that we have the funds available, can we go ahead and have the extra shelves, 37 additional shelves? And so we're saying, actually, this will end up being less than 50, but since we came to you to approve with a limit of 500,000, we felt compelled to come, obviously, and ask you for this additional funding.
Can we go back to the picture?
Yes, ma'am.
So what is, and you have the room to put the shelves?
Yes, ma'am, this is the room, as you can tell, actually, this is a little deceiving, because they still need to spread out the shelves, make it where they can go and put shelves on there. But there it is, the original plan included 37 additional shelves, but because we're capping the budget for equipment at 900,000, they had to cut from somewhere. And this was, they took 37 shelves out. But now that we're done and we have the money contingency, they asked, well, can we go ahead and have them now?
And are they wood shelves?
No, they're metal.
Metal?
Yes.
Okay, and what's the purpose of that?
Compressors is compressed air for each, the only reason you don't see automotive here is because they brought their own, but they need new ones at collision and diesel. So it's basically, I don't know, I'm not hardly a mechanic, sorry, but you use compressor to fill in tires and things like that. So that's the purpose of that. And obviously, because diesel, you're dealing with much bigger trucks, you need a bigger one.
Okay, thank you.
Any questions?
Let me read the item.
Yes.
Okay.
Item 5.4, Mr. Pettis will request the Board of Trustees to formally approve a proposed change order to VMAC Construction in an amount not to exceed $50,000 for the Vibrated Transportation Training Center construction project. The proposed change order includes additional equipment needed for faculty, staff, and students in the new building.
Move to approve. Second.
Any discussion? Call the question.
Dr. Graham?
Yes.
Ms. Pena?
Aye.
Mr. Uxer?
Aye.
Ms. Nahara?
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez?
Aye.
Mr. Haggerty?
Aye. Have a motion for adjournment?
So made.
Second.
All in favor?
Thank you. Oh, can I say something really quick? Sure. Carrie, thank you so much. Oh, that gallo instrument, my wife didn't want to leave. So, thank you so much. Great job. Thank you.
We appreciate you all being there. Thank you.
Thank you.